Listen carefully, because your future is not a mystery, it is a result. And results are always traceable to what a man or woman chooses to control. You don't control the world. You don't control people. You don't even control opportunities. But there are 10 things, 10 powerful forces within your domain that, if mastered, will make success inevitable in your life. Let's begin. Everything in your life begins with a thought. Before anything becomes visible in your reality, it first takes shape in your mind. This is why controlling your thoughts is not just important, it is essential if you truly intend to win in life. Many people spend their days reacting to circumstances, unaware that their internal thinking patterns are quietly shaping those very circumstances. What you repeatedly think about becomes the lens through which you see the world, and eventually it becomes the world you live in. Your mind is like fertile soil. It does not question what you plant in it, it simply grows it. If you consistently plant seeds of doubt, fear, insecurity, and limitation, your life will begin to reflect those very things. You will hesitate when you should act, shrink when you should rise, and settle when you were meant to expand. On the other hand, when you intentionally plant thoughts of discipline, confidence, growth, and possibility, you begin to create a completely different internal environment, one that produces courage, clarity, and action. The challenge is that not every thought you have is yours by design. Many thoughts are influenced by past experiences, negative environments, or the opinions of others. If you are not careful, you will start believing things about yourself that were never true to begin with. This is why you must become conscious of your thinking. You must learn to observe your thoughts instead of automatically agreeing with them. Just because a thought appears in your mind does not mean it deserves your belief. Discipline at the level of thought requires awareness and intention. It means catching yourself in moments of negativity and deliberately choosing a different perspective. It means replacing "I can't do this" with "I will find a way to do this." It means refusing to entertain ideas that weaken your confidence or distract you from your purpose. This is not about pretending problems do not exist. It is about refusing to let those problems define your mindset. Over time, controlled thinking becomes a habit. You begin to naturally think in ways that support your growth instead of sabotaging it. Your decisions improve because they are no longer driven by fear or doubt. Your actions become more consistent because they are rooted in clarity and belief. Even in difficult situations, you remain steady because your mind is not easily shaken. The truth is, your life will always move in the direction of your strongest thoughts. If you do not take control of your mind, it will be controlled by default, by negativity, by distractions, or by external influences. But when you take ownership of your thinking, you step into a position of power. You stop drifting through life and start directing it. Winning in life is not about controlling everything around you. It is about mastering what is within you. And it all starts with your thoughts. Emotions are a natural and powerful part of being human, but they were never meant to be in charge of your life. They are indicators, not decision makers. When you fail to control your emotions, you begin to live reactively instead of intentionally. One moment of anger can destroy years of relationships. One wave of fear can stop you from taking a life-changing opportunity. One feeling of doubt can silence your potential before it even has a chance to express itself. This is why emotional control is not weakness. It is strength in its most refined form. Many people believe that being emotionally strong means suppressing feelings, but that is not true. Suppression leads to pressure, and pressure eventually explodes. True strength is found in awareness and regulation. It is the ability to feel everything without being controlled by anything. You can feel anger and still choose patience. You can feel fear and still take action. You can feel disappointment and still remain committed to your vision. That is what separates those who succeed from those who remain stuck. Your emotions are often triggered by how you interpret situations rather than the situations themselves. Two people can face the same challenge, yet respond completely differently. One may panic and give up, while the other remains calm and finds a solution. The difference is not the situation, it is emotional discipline. When you understand that your feelings are influenced by your perspective, you begin to realize that you have more control than you think. Learning to control your emotions requires slowing down your reactions. Most mistakes in life happen in moments of emotional intensity, when you speak too quickly, act too soon, or decide without thinking clearly. But when you create space between what you feel and how you respond, you gain control. In that space, you can choose wisdom over impulse. You can respond with intention instead of regret. It is also important to recognize that emotions are temporary. No feeling lasts forever, no matter how intense it may seem in the moment. When you understand this, you stop making permanent decisions based on temporary emotions. You begin to wait, to observe, and to respond at the right time rather than reacting immediately. Controlling your emotions also affects how others perceive and interact with you. People are naturally drawn to those who remain calm under pressure, who do not overreact, and who handle challenges with maturity. Emotional stability builds trust, respect, and influence. It allows you to lead, to inspire, and to make decisions that are not clouded by chaos. At the highest level, emotional control gives you inner peace. Life will always bring unexpected challenges, difficult people, and uncertain situations. But when you are in control of your emotions, you are no longer shaken by everything that happens around you. You become steady, focused, and grounded. Winning in life is not about avoiding emotions, it is about mastering them. When you take control of how you respond to what you feel, you take control of your actions, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. Time is the one resource every human being is given equally, yet it is also the one most carelessly wasted. You cannot store it, pause it, or get it back once it is gone. Every second that passes is permanently spent, whether you used it wisely or not. This is why controlling your time is not really about managing hours and minutes. It is about managing your priorities, your focus, and ultimately your life. If you do not take control of your time, you will unknowingly give control of your future to distractions, low-value activities, and other people's agendas. Most people live as if they have an unlimited supply of time. They delay important decisions, postpone meaningful work, and spend hours on things that add no real value to their growth. What they fail to realize is that life is being shaped in those very moments. Every hour you invest is either building your future or quietly taking away from it. There is no neutral ground. Time is always moving, and it is always producing something. To control your time, you must first become clear about what truly matters. Without clarity, you will treat everything as equally important, and that is where confusion begins. Not everything deserves your attention. Some tasks move your life forward, while others simply keep you busy. The ability to distinguish between the two is what separates productive people from those who feel constantly overwhelmed yet achieve little. Being busy is not the same as being effective. Discipline plays a major role in how you use your time. There will always be easier, more comfortable options competing for your attention, scrolling endlessly, procrastinating, avoiding difficult tasks. But success is built in the moments when you choose what is necessary over what is easy. When you consistently invest your time in meaningful actions, even small ones, the results begin to compound over time. Another important aspect of controlling your time is learning to say no. Every time you say yes to something unimportant, you're saying no to something that could have been valuable. Protecting your time means setting boundaries. It means not allowing every request, distraction, or opportunity to dictate how your day unfolds. You must decide in advance how your time will be spent, otherwise it will be decided for you. It is also essential to recognize that time reflects your values. What you give your time to reveals what you truly prioritize, not what you claim to prioritize. If your goals are important, your time should reflect that importance. If your growth matters, it should be visible in how you spend your hours daily. When you begin to take control of your time, you also begin to experience a sense of direction and purpose. You are no longer drifting through your days. You are intentionally building something. Your actions align with your goals, and your progress becomes measurable. Winning in life requires more than talent or desire. It requires consistent investment of time in the right areas. Once you understand that your time is your life in motion, you will treat it with greater respect and responsibility. And when you do that, you begin to shape a future that is not left to chance, but created by choice. Your habits are the quiet architects of your life. They operate in the background, often unnoticed, yet they are consistently shaping who you are becoming. Success is rarely the result of one big decision or a single moment of effort. It is the outcome of small actions repeated daily over time. What you do every day matters far more than what you do occasionally. This is why controlling your habits is one of the most powerful ways to take control of your future. Every habit you practice is reinforcing a certain identity. When you wake up early, stay disciplined, and follow through on your commitments, you are not just completing tasks, you are becoming a disciplined person. On the other hand, when you procrastinate procrastinate, avoid responsibility, or give in to distractions, you are strengthening patterns that hold you back. The danger with habits is that they feel insignificant in the moment. Skipping one task or delaying one action does not seem like a big deal, but over time, these small choices accumulate and create a pattern that defines your life. The key to controlling your habits is awareness. You must first recognize what you are consistently doing without thinking. Many people are stuck not because they lack potential, but because they are trapped in unconscious routines. Once you become aware of your habits, you gain the power to change them. You can begin to replace what is unproductive with what is beneficial, one step at a time. Change does not happen overnight, and that is where most people struggle. They try to transform everything at once and become overwhelmed. Real growth is gradual. It is about making small, consistent improvements that are sustainable over the long term. Instead of focusing on perfection, focus on progress. A single positive habit practiced daily can eventually transform multiple areas of your life. Discipline plays a central role in building strong habits. There will be days when you do not feel motivated, when the excitement is gone, and when it would be easier to stop. But habits are not built on motivation. They are built on consistency. You must learn to act even when you do not feel like it. Over time, what once required effort becomes automatic, and what was once difficult becomes natural. Your environment also influences your habits more than you may realize. If you are constantly surrounded by distractions, it becomes harder to stay focused. If you are in an environment that encourages growth, discipline becomes easier to maintain. This is why it is important to design your surroundings in a way that supports the habits you want to build. Another important aspect is accountability. When you track your habits or hold yourself responsible for your actions, you become more intentional about your behavior. You begin to take ownership of your daily choices instead of acting on impulse. Winning in life is not about making one perfect decision. It is about making the right decisions repeatedly. Your habits are the system through which those decisions are carried out. When you take control of your habits, you no longer rely on bursts of motivation or external pressure. You create a structure that naturally leads you towards success. In the end, your future is not something you wait for. It is something you build through what you do every single day. And those daily actions, no matter how small they seem, are your habits at work. Words may seem simple, but they carry enormous creative and destructive power. What you speak consistently begins to shape how you think, how you feel, and eventually how you act. Your words are not just expressions of your current state. They are also instructions to your future. This is why controlling your words is essential if you want to control your life. Many people underestimate the impact of what they say, yet their own speech often becomes the very limitation they experience. When you repeatedly speak negativity, doubt, or failure over your life, you begin to reinforce those realities in your mind. Saying things like, "I can't," "it's impossible," or "I'm not good enough" may seem harmless in the moment, but over time, these statements become internal beliefs. Your subconscious mind starts to accept them as truth, and your behavior begins to align with them. In this way, careless speech slowly builds invisible barriers around your potential. On the other hand, intentional speech can transform your mindset. When you consistently speak words of possibility, growth, and resilience, you begin to shift your internal narrative. Saying, "I will learn," "I will improve," or "I will find a way," trains your mind to look for solutions instead of limitations. Your words become a tool for mental conditioning, shaping how you respond to challenges and how you perceive yourself. Controlling your words also means being mindful of how you speak about others. The way you talk about people often reflects the condition of your own heart and mindset. Speaking negatively about others can create a cycle of criticism, bitterness, and misunderstanding. But choosing to speak with wisdom, respect, and restraint builds maturity and emotional stability. It also strengthens your relationships and your reputation. There is also power in silence. Not every thought requires expression, and not every emotion needs to be verbalized. Learning when not to speak is just as important as knowing what to say. Many problems in life are created not by actions, but by words spoken too quickly, without reflection. When you pause before speaking, you give yourself the opportunity to choose wisdom over impulse. Your words also influence your discipline. When you say you will do something, you create a level of accountability. Breaking your word to yourself weakens your self-trust, while keeping your word strengthens it. Over time, your identity becomes connected to whether or not you are a person who follows through on what you say. This is why people with strong discipline are often careful with their speech. They understand that every word is a commitment, either to growth or to inconsistency. In difficult situations, your words can either escalate tension or bring clarity. Speaking calmly and thoughtfully helps you maintain control, while speaking emotionally can amplify confusion and conflict. This is why emotional intelligence is closely tied to verbal discipline. Ultimately, your words are shaping your world more than you realize. They influence your mindset, your relationships, your decisions, and your direction in life. When you take control of your speech, you begin to take control of your identity. You move from speaking carelessly to speaking intentionally, from reacting verbally to responding wisely. Winning in life is not only about what you do, it is also about what you consistently say. Because in many ways, your words are the blueprint of the life you are building. Focus is one of the most valuable forces a human being can develop, yet it is also one of the most easily stolen. In a world filled with distractions, noise, notifications, and constant demands for attention, the ability to control your focus has become a rare advantage. Many people are not failing because they lack ability, intelligence, or opportunity. They are failing because their attention is scattered. And wherever your attention goes, your energy follows, and wherever your energy goes, results are produced. To control your focus is to take control of your direction in life. A divided mind produces divided results. When you try to do everything at once, you end up mastering nothing. But when you concentrate your energy on one meaningful direction, you begin to create momentum. Great achievements are never the result of random effort. They are the product of sustained attention applied consistently to a clear objective. The challenge is that distraction often feels harmless. It presents itself as small interruptions, checking your phone, switching tasks, delaying important work for something easier or more entertaining. But these small interruptions accumulate, and over time they weaken your ability to concentrate deeply. A mind that is constantly jumping from one thing to another loses the capacity for depth, and without depth, there is no excellence. Controlling your focus requires intentional discipline. It means deciding in advance what deserves your attention and protecting that decision fiercely. It means learning to say no, not only to people, but also to impulses, habits, and internal urges that pull you away from what matters. Focus is not just about external distractions, it is also about internal control. Your thoughts, emotions, and desires will constantly compete for your attention, but you must remain anchored to your purpose. One of the greatest enemies of focus is the illusion of productivity. You can feel busy while achieving very little. Activity is not the same as progress. Many people spend their days moving from task to task, responding to messages, attending to minor issues, and engaging in endless consumption of information. Yet at the end of the day, nothing meaningful has been accomplished. True focus demands that you prioritize impact over activity. Another important aspect of focus is the ability to complete what you start. A scattered life is often the result of unfinished commitments. Every unfinished task creates mental clutter, and that clutter reduces your ability to think clearly. When you develop the discipline to finish what you begin, you strengthen your mental clarity and build confidence in your ability to execute. Focus also requires environmental control. Your surroundings either support your concentration or weaken it. If your environment is filled with constant interruptions, your mind will struggle to stay steady. But when you intentionally design your environment to support deep work, you make it easier to stay aligned with your goals. Ultimately, focus is a reflection of value. Whatever you truly value will naturally attract your attention. If your attention is constantly drifting, it may be a sign that your priorities are unclear. But when you gain clarity about what truly matters in your life, focus becomes easier because you are no longer guessing where your energy should go. Winning in life requires more than effort. It requires directed effort. And direction is impossible without focus. When you master your attention, you master your outcomes. Because in the end, your life is moving in the direction of what you consistently choose to focus on. Your environment is one of the most powerful shaping forces in your life, often influencing you in ways you do not immediately recognize. It is not only the physical space around you, but also the people you spend time with, the conversations you engage in, the media you consume, and the atmosphere you consistently expose yourself to. Over time, your environment becomes a silent teacher, constantly shaping your mindset, your habits, and your expectations for life. Many people underestimate how deeply environment affects behavior. You may have strong intentions, good goals, and a desire to change, but if your surroundings constantly pull you in the opposite direction, progress becomes difficult. For example, if you are surrounded by negativity, criticism, or lack of ambition, those attitudes begin to normalize in your mind. Without even realizing it, you start adopting the same limitations you hear every day. What once felt unacceptable slowly begins to feel normal. On the other hand, when you place yourself in an environment that promotes growth, discipline, and vision, your mindset begins to shift naturally. You start to think differently because you are exposed to different standards. You begin to see what is possible, not just what is familiar. Environment has the power to stretch your thinking beyond your current limitations. It introduces you to new ideas, new possibilities, and new levels of expectation for your life. The people around you play a particularly important role in shaping your environment. Human beings are deeply influenced by association. The attitudes, habits, and behaviors of those you spend time with will gradually influence your own. If you are consistently around individuals who lack direction, you may find your own sense of direction weakening. But if you are surrounded by focused, disciplined, and growth-minded individuals, their energy and mindset will begin to influence your own behavior. Your environment also affects your discipline. It is much harder to stay focused in a chaotic or distracting environment than in one that is structured and intentional. Small things like noise, clutter, constant interruptions, or negative energy can slowly drain your mental strength. A supportive environment, however, makes it easier to stay consistent and committed to your goals. Another important aspect of controlling your environment is understanding that you may need to make deliberate changes. Growth often requires separation from environments that no longer serve your development. This does not always mean physical relocation. Sometimes it means setting boundaries, reducing exposure to negativity, or being intentional about where you invest your time and energy. It is also important to recognize that you are not just influenced by your environment. You are also a creator of it. The way you think, speak, and act contributes to the atmosphere around you. You have the ability to bring discipline into your space, to introduce positivity, and to set higher standards in your immediate surroundings. Ultimately, your environment is either building you or breaking you. It is either supporting your vision or silently working against it. When you take responsibility for what you allow into your space, you begin to take control of your development. You stop being passively shaped by circumstances and start intentionally choosing what shapes you. Winning in life requires more than personal effort. It requires strategic placement. When you align yourself with the right environment, growth becomes not only possible but natural. Because in the end, you become a reflection of what consistently surrounds you. Discipline is the bridge between intention and achievement. It is what transforms dreams into reality and potential into performance. Many people have desires, goals, and visions for their lives, but without discipline, those visions remain unfulfilled ideas. Discipline is not about occasional effort. It is about consistent action, especially when motivation is absent. It is the ability to do what is necessary, even when it is uncomfortable, inconvenient, or emotionally difficult. One of the greatest misunderstandings about discipline is the belief that it depends on feelings. In reality, discipline often requires acting in direct opposition to your feelings. There will always be days when you do not feel like waking up early, studying, working, or pushing forward. If you rely on feelings, your progress will be inconsistent. But if you rely on discipline, your progress becomes stable and predictable. Discipline creates structure where emotions create chaos. True discipline begins with commitment. It is a decision made before the moment of temptation arrives. When you decide in advance what kind of person you are becoming, you reduce the chances of negotiating with yourself later. Without commitment, every decision becomes a debate between what is easy and what is right. But with commitment, the decision is already made and you simply execute it. Discipline also requires self-control. It is the ability to delay immediate gratification for long-term benefit. In a world that constantly offers quick pleasure and instant rewards, self-control becomes a rare and powerful trait. Many people struggle not because they do not know what to do, but because they cannot resist what they should not do. Strengthening self-control means learning to pause, evaluate, and choose wisely instead of reacting impulsively. Another important aspect of discipline is consistency. One strong effort is not enough to build success. Real transformation happens through repeated actions over time. Small disciplined actions done daily create powerful results when compounded. Whether it is improving your skills, building your health, or developing your mindset, consistency is what turns effort into mastery. Discipline also shapes identity. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you reinforce the type of person you are becoming. You are not just completing tasks, you are building character. Over time, disciplined behavior becomes part of your identity. You stop trying to be disciplined and start becoming a disciplined person naturally. It is also important to understand that discipline is strengthened through resistance. The more you practice it in difficult situations, the stronger it becomes. Every time you overcome temptation, distraction, or laziness, you are training your mind to operate at a higher level. Like a muscle, discipline grows with use. Environment and habits also support discipline. When your surroundings encourage structure and your routines support productivity, discipline becomes easier to maintain. But even in challenging environments, discipline remains a personal choice. It is ultimately about internal control, not external conditions. Winning in life requires more than talent or inspiration. It requires discipline. Because discipline ensures that what you start, you finish. What you commit to, you complete. And what you envision, you eventually achieve. Without discipline, potential remains unused. With discipline, even ordinary ability can produce extraordinary results. In the end, discipline is not just a habit. It is the foundation of success and the proof of self-mastery. Reactions reveal the true level of a person's inner strength. You may not always control what happens to you, but you always have control over how you respond to it. This space between stimulus and response is where maturity is either developed or destroyed. Many people lose opportunities, damage relationships, and create unnecessary conflicts simply because they react emotionally instead of responding wisely. Learning to control your reactions is therefore one of the most important skills for winning in life. A reaction is often instant, emotional, and unfiltered. It is what happens when you allow feelings to take charge before thinking takes place. In moments of anger, frustration, disappointment, or fear, the natural tendency is to react immediately. But immediate reactions are rarely wise. They are usually driven by emotion rather than understanding. When you react too quickly, you often say things you do not mean, make decisions you later regret, or escalate situations that could have been resolved peacefully. Controlling your reactions begins with awareness. You must become conscious of your emotional triggers, the situations, words, or behaviors that tend to provoke strong responses in you. Once you're aware of these triggers, you gain the power to pause instead of react automatically. That pause is powerful. In that brief moment, you can choose how you want to respond rather than being controlled by impulse. Response is different from reaction. A reaction is emotional and immediate, while a response is thoughtful and intentional. When you respond, you take a moment to understand the situation, consider consequences, and choose your words and actions carefully. This shift from reacting to responding is what separates emotional instability from emotional intelligence. Many conflicts in life escalate not because of the original issue, but because of uncontrolled reactions. A small misunderstanding can turn into a major argument when emotions are not managed. On the other hand, a calm and measured response can de-escalate tension and create space for resolution. Your ability to stay calm under pressure often determines the outcome of your relationships and interactions. Controlling your reactions also protects your reputation. People form opinions about your character based on how you behave in difficult situations. If you are known for reacting impulsively, you may be seen as unreliable or unstable. But if you are known for staying calm, thoughtful, and composed, you naturally earn respect and trust. Emotional control builds credibility. Another important aspect is understanding that not every situation deserves your reaction. Some things are distractions designed to pull you out of focus. Not responding to everything is a sign of strength, not weakness. Silence, when used wisely, can be more powerful than words. Choosing not to react allows you to conserve your energy for what truly matters. Controlling reactions also leads to personal peace. When you are not constantly reacting to every challenge or offense, your mind becomes calmer and more stable. You stop living in emotional chaos and start living with clarity and direction. Ultimately, winning in life requires emotional mastery. When you control your reactions, you control the outcome of many situations before they even fully develop. You become someone who is not easily shaken, easily provoked, or easily distracted. Instead, you become steady, intentional, and grounded. And in that state of control, you gain true strength, the ability to choose your response and shape your future with wisdom rather than emotion. Vision is the inner picture of a future that does not yet exist in your present reality, yet has the power to guide every decision you make today. Without vision, life becomes reactive. You simply respond to circumstances, follow trends, and drift wherever the moment takes you. But with vision, life becomes intentional. You begin to move with direction, purpose, and clarity. This is why controlling your vision is not optional. It is essential for anyone who wants to win in life. A person without vision is easily influenced. When you do not have a clear picture of where you are going, you become vulnerable to distraction, discouragement, and comparison. You may start many things but finish few because there is no guiding force pulling you forward. Vision acts like an internal compass. It keeps you aligned even when emotions fluctuate and circumstances change. It gives you something stable to return to when life becomes uncertain. Vision is not just about seeing where you want to go. It is about believing it is possible before it becomes visible. Every great achievement in history began as a vision in someone's mind. Long before it became physical reality, it existed as imagination, belief, and conviction. This means that your current situation does not define your future potential. What defines your future is the clarity and strength of the vision you hold. When your vision is strong, it begins to influence your behavior. You make decisions differently because you are no longer guided by short-term comfort but by long-term purpose. You begin to ask yourself whether your current actions are aligned with where you are trying to go. This awareness changes everything. It filters out distractions and strengthens discipline because you now understand what is at stake. A weak vision leads to inconsistency. When you are unclear about your direction, motivation becomes unstable. You rely on feelings instead of purpose, and when feelings fade, so does your effort. But a strong vision sustains you even when motivation disappears. It gives meaning to discipline, making it easier to persist through challenges and delays. Vision also protects you from settling. Without it, you may accept situations that are below your potential simply because they are familiar or comfortable. But when you have a clear picture of what is possible for your life, you become less willing to compromise your standards. Vision raises your expectations and expands your sense of identity. It is also important to understand that vision must be actively maintained. It is not enough to have a moment of inspiration. You must continually reinforce it. This can be done through reflection, writing it down, speaking it, and surrounding yourself with reminders of what you are working toward. When vision is constantly renewed, it stays alive and influential. Ultimately, vision determines direction, and direction determines destiny. You cannot arrive at a destination you have never defined. When you take control of your vision, you take control of your life's trajectory. You stop wandering and start building. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. Winning in life is not just about effort. It is about direction with clarity. And vision is what gives that clarity. It allows you to see beyond your present limitations and move confidently toward a future that you have already chosen in your mind long before it manifests in reality.